Hi, David. How's it going?
Going very well, thanks, Charles. How you doing?
Good. I'm so obsessed with the idea of morality in this show, and
Mhm.
especially with Godwin's character. I mean, the way it plays out is that we don't, we see a lot of people who kind of prove themselves, that test their mettle out on the battlefield, in the wars, and yet it seems like, you certainly have the riding scenes. You're drawing on your
Mhm.
equestrian background, but it seems like your power comes from manipulation and from simply knowing things. So do you feel like Godwin, I mean, do you think this character is sort of separate in a lot of ways from a lot of the people that we see on the show?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's one of the privileges of being a Saxon in a Viking universe. And I mean, there are a few other Saxons, but either they don't last very long, um, or yeah, well, depending on whether they get killed by me or somebody else. Yeah, it's the question of morality is an interesting one because a lot of what Godwin seems to be doing seems devoid of moral judgment. That there is not a thing that he is not prepared to do to survive or to succeed at his super objective or whatever. Um, I would challenge the use of the word moral. For what he is doing has purpose, it has objective, and those that get in his way, he almost always gives a chance to see if they are suitable or worthy to continue in the position of power that they hold. Um, and as you say, he's a listener with a huge amount of knowledge. So one would hope that he is making his decisions with the best interests of whatever it is he's trying to achieve at that particular time. Now, I have an understanding with Jeb of what Godwin wants and how he's going to get there. Um, but through knowing what that is, I'm blessed with knowing that I have a multi-series arc that is only going to become clear as the series roll on, which is an absolute gift for an actor.
Hmm. I don't like to jump off too much from previous
Mm-hmm.
work, but to me, it's so fascinating that, your stage work, for example, recently, doing Venus and Fur with Patrick
Mm-hmm.
Marber and playing Hamlet. It seems like these are roles, again, that are so invested and so interested in that concept of the good or of morality or
Yeah.
even making a decision, making a choice and making the right choice. So how much does that inspire you coming into the show?
I think it's less about what that inspires me. It's about why I've made those choices. I think there are a lot of very talented younger actors in this show. Um, it's very strange to now consider myself one of the more senior members of the cast. But certainly for the last, I don't know, 6, 7, maybe 8 years, I've been making a concerted effort to choose roles that enable me to question things, not necessarily about my own life, but question things about existence, about uh, the nature of life and our place in the world. Morality is certainly an aspect of that. But I think whereas Hamlet is questioning the reason of life itself, and in Venus and Fur, it's about being challenged about how one is living rather than questioning it directly in terms of the Thomas Novacek role. I think with this one, he doesn't get questioned by people. He witnesses events, and if he's played his hand well, gets given time to contemplate, but also has to react. So it's less contemplative for Godwin at times, where he has to simply respond and to strike out and to react, but not always with weapons. Sometimes with wit, and sometimes with silence.
And I have to ask because you're so concerned for the environment. And I wish more governance was like that, with seeing it on the show, seeing issues that, are across thousands of years, but still feel very contemporary. Is that a part of the experience for you? Do you consider these to be sort of two separate avenues, two separate lanes? Or do you think there's an intersection between, your incredible performances and caring so much deeply about the environment?
I hope that one feeds into the other for certain. I certainly think delving into these historical stories highlights the fact that human beings have been very good at not learning from our mistakes. Characters within this show who are megalomaniacal, misogynist brutes still exist now, 1,000 years later. So yeah, there's lots to learn from these situations, and I would hope that it's hard to say that my love of nature and plants and animals feeds into Godwin, but there is an aesthetic, I think, certainly that I try and bless him with, I guess. It's a small thing, but I don't think, if you notice, then that's enough for me. There's a director that we have worked with potentially in a second series that we may or may not have shot yet, which I'm definitely not allowed to talk about here, who was similarly intrigued by the role of nature in this universe. So if potentially you see an episode in season 2 directed by a man from Belgium, potentially hypothetically, then you will find me and he as kindred spirits both enjoying the prospect of bringing nature into a world that is on the surface just one covered in blood.
Wow. Something to look forward to.
Indeed.
I've so much enjoyed your performance this season. Thank you so much. This was great.
Thank you, Charles. That means a lot. Thank you.